Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasank Ma Keparu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about how J.J. Abrams says that the rise of Skywalker will have LGBTQ representation. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. And lastly, please share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So, director J.J. Abrams promises that there will be LGBTQ representation in the next Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker. But I want to talk about something else before we get into this, and that has to be, I did a video the other day talking about actor Billy D. Williams, who plays Lando Calrissian in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and how he mentioned he was gender fluid. Well, come to find out, that's not what he said. And in fact, he doesn't even understand what the title gender fluid means. It was the mainstream media that was pushing that and twisted his words. So let's hear from him what he meant. So let's go to the video.
I know they got this term gender fluid, and I thought, what the hell is a gender fluid? But no, that whole thing was about many years ago. I embraced the teachings of Carl G. Jung, who was a psychiatrist who was a contemporary of Freud. He was with Freud for a while, and he broke away because his theories were different. But one of the things that he talked about and wrote about was something called the anima animus. And anima is the female counterpart of the male self, and the animus is the male counterpart of the female self. And I've always been intrigued with this whole idea of men getting in touch with their softer side, the gentle side. So this wasn't about sex or anything like that. It was just mainly about, men not wanting to embrace that point of view about themselves, and they should. I think it's always a good idea. It was very exciting and a lot of fun.
There's nothing wrong with embracing the male and female aspects of you, the yin and the yang, the anima and the animus. Now notice how they twisted his words to make it seem like he was in support of being gender fluid. Just keep that in mind. Now, if you're not aware of it, the Carl Jung is a Swiss psychologist who, had a different perspective on psychology than Sigmund Freud. Carl Jung, he believed in the collective consciousness, archetypes, synchronicity. So he was really into the esoteric, and he had very interesting perspectives on this. Okay, so let's go back to the article where J.J. Abrams promises that The Rise of Skywalker will have LGBTQ representation. So that's J.J. Abrams there. And let's read what this article has to say. Director J.J. Abrams has allegedly delivered on his promise to feature more LGBTQ representation in the Star Wars universe via the upcoming film Rise of Skywalker. Though the characters Finn and Poe will not be lovers, Abrams said the representation will still be apparent. So if you're not aware of it, a few years ago there was a push to have Finn and Poe get into some type of relationship. And then this again was being pushed by the media because there was no indication on screen that Finn and Poe were intimately engaged with one another. In fact, Finn would run around yelling out Rey. He was in love with Rey. He wanted to get together with Rey, and for a time it looked like Rey had some feelings from him as well. But because it was an interracial couple, Finn was black, Rey's white, we never saw that come to fruition. And that just tells you that Hollywood still is racist and still has a problem. And in fact, Finn's character as being an imperial garbage collector or garbage man is very disrespectful to have that African American character be that way, while Rey or Finn, they are, especially Ray. She's a Mary Sue. If you don't know what a Mary Sue is, means that she can do all kinds of things. She's a superwoman, a magic woman. She can fly the Millennium Falcon. She can fix robots. She can be the best lightsaber Jedi or there is. Anyway, let's go on further with this article. Speaking with Variety, Abrams said he specifically wanted the LGBTQ community to feel represented without revealing any details on as to how he would pull that off. Now, I want you to understand that the LGBTQ community represents in this country only less than 4% of the population, while African Americans represent anywhere from 13 to 14% of the population. Yet you would think the LGBTQ community represents 20% of the population, given the fact of how much representation they have in big budget Hollywood films. And if you recall earlier this year in Avengers Endgame, when Captain America was counseling this gentleman who was in a relationship with another man, but that individual disappeared due to the Thanos snap. That was their way of introducing a gay character in Avengers Endgame. All right, let's go on. In the case of the LGBTQ community, it was important to me that people who go to see the movie feel that they're being represented in the films, Abrams said. I will say I'm giving away nothing about what happens in the movie, but I did just say what I just said. At this point, my advice to J.J. Abrams and to Disney is to focus on making good movies. These Star Wars films, starting with The Force Awakens, have been horrible under Disney's watch. Now, I want you to understand that a lot of people blame Kathleen Kennedy, who's head of Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy is a pawn. There is the ruling elite, which is behind the scenes, pulling the strings, and they have sent out a memorandum, a directive that to all of Hollywood and all of media to push more of the LGBTQ agenda. J.J. Abrams has long promised that the Star Wars universe will be introducing gay characters in the coming future. Now, why are they so bent on that? Why is that important? We read here nothing about the story, nothing about the innovative effects that the film should have, and that George Lucas said was a prerequisite to making a Star Wars film, that it had to have innovative effects, but more so about pushing this gay character agenda. Now, go back to what I was saying with Billy D. Williams and the character of Lando Calrissian, who is a heterosexual male in touch with his sexuality, who loves women. In fact, it was Billy D. Williams who said he didn't like the portrayal, how Danny Glover played him, his younger version, in the film Solo, a Star Wars story, the Han Solo movie. Because instead of focusing on the story with that movie, it was all about how Lando Calrissian was pansexual. And that overshadowed his character. So I think Billy D. Williams is alluding to that. But again, notice how when it comes to the LGBT agenda, it's always being pushed on the African American community. It's like the gateway drug. They want to get it in to us and see if we will be accepting of it. And following along the lines of what David Icke said, this is the totalitarian tiptoe, meaning that if they were just to come out full force with a gay character, mainstream, star the movie, probably the American population wouldn't accept it. So they've got to introduce it in a drip fashion to indoctrinate you into this idea. But there's nothing wrong with that. I think that the American population doesn't care. What they care about is a good story. But see, that's not their real agenda. They're not about diversity. That's just a smokescreen. You see, what they're interested in doing is because they know the census data. They know that in a few decades that the African American community and the Hispanic community are going to outnumber whites in the country, and that their answer and their solution is to push the LGBTQ way of life, that agenda, to the African American population, because they are the canary in the coal mine. Once it proves effective there, they'll move on to the greater population, because their goal in the end is to depopulate the planet. Margaret Sanger was one of the very first ones to come out of the gate to talk about this. She was in favor of eugenics. She was a member of the Nazi Party, or she was a Nazi Party sympathizer. This whole idea of controlling the population has a long, dark history in this country. And they use very nefarious means to push it to ensure that the people of color, that population does not increase. We've seen that with the pushing of Planned Parenthood and things of that nature. I did a film called White Power where I exposed that and what they were doing. So you can read this article on your own, and but what I want you to understand is that this has nothing to do with diversity. There's a darker agenda behind this. And if you don't believe me, go do your research. Go back and look at the start of the feminist movement, Margaret Sanger, Gloria Steinem, and how they were trying to indoctrinate African American women and to get them to stop having babies. This is Kasak Ma'akeparu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. My aunt is a beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, I'm in Ra.